Good morning, viewers. Welcome to NOA River State Dialogue. This is the weekly sensitization program of the National Orientation Agency, River State, supported by UNICEF. Now, in 1989, something incredible happened. World leaders came together and made a historic commitment to the world's children. They made a promise to every child to protect and fulfill the rights of every child. And they did that by adopting an international legal framework, which we know today as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Now, contained in this treaty is the fact that children are not just objects to their parents, and for whom decisions are made or they are adults in training. Rather, children should be seen as human beings, as individuals with their own rights. Now, the United Nations Conference on Human Settlements, Habitat 2, also declared that the well-being of children is the ultimate indicator of a healthy habitat, a democratic society, and good governance. Today, we shall be discussing child-friendly community. And I have here with me in the studio a risk communication and community engagement specialist with UNICEF. His name is Mr. Mordecai Olowole. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you do.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
He has been here before, if you can remember, if you're a regular on this program. He has been here before and is here again today. So, you're welcome again.
Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting you once again.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited to have you. Now, can you give us an overview of what this UNICEF Child-Friendly Community Initiative is all about? What is it about?
Yeah, you've already started the preliminaries.
Yes.
You know, like you rightly said, in 1989, when the UN Assembly came together, which they officially launched in 1990.
Okay.
And we're talking about right of a child.
Yeah.
Now, here we go. When we say right of a child, where does community or child-friendly community comes in?
Mm-hmm.
We may call it child-friendly community, we may call it child-friendly town or child-friendly state, even child-friendly country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a system of governance that recognizes the right of a child and try to bring everything together to ensure that that right of a child has been articulated in the Convention of the Human Rights for Child, right of child. So when a government realizes that and put those things in place, so that a child will be able to live in an environment, in a society, in a conducive environment that will support their upbuilding.
Okay.
You know, the prayer of every parent is for their children to have a brighter future.
Of course.
And these children need to pass through all the child killer diseases and threats and risks that could terminate their life before they get there.
Yeah.
So when a community is not conducive for such things, we won't refer to such community as a child-friendly. But when a community realizes those things and put them in place to support the survival of a child, then we call it child-friendly community.
Okay, so that's what UNICEF, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I mentioned about the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Has it been domesticated in Nigeria? Do you have any, where in Nigeria, has it been domesticated here?
Yeah, we need to first and foremost understand the mission of the United Nations.
Okay.
I say United Nations doesn't mean America. Yeah, it means countries that come together to agree on the best way of governance, realizing the right for human survival. We have a lot of them. So they come together, they make what we call constitution in Nigeria, or they call it treaties.
Okay.
So one of those treaties is the right of a child. We call it child rights.
Okay.
So when they come together, Nigeria happened to be one of the 189 countries that constitute the UN. So that means Nigeria was a signatory
to that. Okay.
To that.
Okay.
So by the virtue of that, Nigeria's commitment shows that they have agreed to domesticate that.
Okay.
So if we are now talking, sensitizing them, we are also reminding them to remember their promises.
Okay, okay. So now, what are these rights we're talking about?
Yeah, there are plenty,
okay,
actually, but I would like to relate it to child-friendly community.
Okay.
So that we
don't talk so much today. Okay.
A child-friendly community is looking at basic infrastructure that will support a child.
Okay.
As it's growing
up. Okay.
It's looking at social amenities or social welfare that will support a child as the child is growing up. That means we have some of these things that should be provided or be on ground before we can say, okay, this community is child friendly. For example, school is one of them.
Okay.
In a child friendly community, we will not have 1%, even 0.1% of out of school child.
Okay. Okay.
So if all the children in a community are enrolled at of school age are in school, enrolled 100%, then they have climbed the first ladder.
Okay. Okay.
Of being a child-friendly community. In a child-friendly community, apart from the fact that all the children that are of school age will be enrolled in school, they will also have access to health facilities.
Okay.
All the under 5 children in that community would have been immunized against the 6 killer diseases.
Okay.
Apart from that, in that particular community, all the pregnant women there must have access to antenatal services.
Okay.
They must register.
Okay.
All the children being given birth to in that community must be registered.
Okay.
The birth certificate, the birth registration must take place.
Okay.
Then all pregnant women in that community must be practicing exclusive breastfeeding. No water, no fluid, no food for the first 6 months. Breastfeeding exclusively.
Okay.
When that is done, and not only that, children in that particular community should also be prevented from malaria. And now you're talking about the use of insecticide treated nets.
Okay. Okay.
Has to be provided. If you don't have that, then you need to get it. Or you devise your home in such a way that mosquito will not bite the children. It's one of the things we're looking at because it contributes. Then wash is very key. Water and sanitation. In a child-friendly community, all the households in the community must have a latrine.
Okay.
And nobody is longer drinking from the stream or river.
Water, yeah.
They will be drinking from either borehole or treated water.
Okay. Okay.
Because open defecation causes diarrhea. And don't forget, I mentioned 6 killer diseases the other time. Do you know that diarrhea is not even one of them? It's the 7th one.
Okay.
But because diarrhea does not have the vaccine
now.
So now we can't say you let us vaccinate them against diarrhea. No.
Okay.
And diarrhea is the 2nd largest child killer in the world. And now it doesn't have vaccine.
Okay.
The vaccine is hand washing.
Okay.
With soap and water and hygiene. So that means we need to ensure that all these things are in place before we can say a community is a child friendly. And besides, no one should also practice genital mutilation of the girl child.
So that's part of it. Yeah,
it's part of it. Yeah. So all those things, when it's happening in a community, then we say, this community is child friendly. It has everything it takes for a child to grow in a conducive environment.
Okay. Now let me take on some comments. A lot of them are coming in. Let's take them, in between. We have from Mr. Abie. He says, anyway, River State right on time. Well done. Keep it up. Thank you. Then Miss Ntiadom Ekpo, she says, yes, children are not just objects to their parents. We mentioned that. They should be seen as human beings, as individuals. And Okay, we have from Mr. Senibo. He says, sir, this is a question. It has been forecasted by the UNICEF between now and 2030, there will be additional 10 million child marriages. What is your reaction about this? Well, we are talking about child-friendly communities. And if we have communities that give out their children, you know, child marriages, what's your comment about that?
Those are part of the things that make a community not to be child-friendly.
Okay.
A child that is given out in marriage before the age of 18, or as some states have their own to be 17 or thereabout, is an abuse.
Okay.
It's part of the things that shouldn't happen. So maybe when we go to role and responsibility, then we'll be looking at whose fault, whose role it is to ensure that that their child is not abused.
Okay.
That will even the boy child as well. Because you've seen cases where a boy of 14 impregnated a girl of 12, 13 or thereabouts. So those kind of abuses and vices are those things that shouldn't happen in a child-friendly community. So we'll be looking at whose responsibility
it is. Okay, we'll get to that. From ECHO says most parents still do not know the rights of the children they have brought into the world. More awareness needs to be carried out, and that's what we are doing right now. So stay tuned, stay connected. I have from Samuel Archibald. He says, kudos to NOA for this far-reaching dialogue and its versatility. Also kudos to UNICEF for supporting this program. We have from Chinwe Opara. He says, parents and community development committee executive must take responsibility for ensuring that children in that community have access to education, health services, and other facilities as provided by the government. We're going to get to the role of stakeholders because from what I see, all hands need to be on deck. It is everyone's responsibility. So we're going to be taking the responsibility, talking about the responsibility of each and every one of the stakeholders involved in this matter. I have from Ellis Dapper. He says, looking at the reality in our nation and from your definition of child-friendly community, is it possible to have a child-friendly community or just a paperwork? Take it on.
Yeah, thank you. I was answering that particular question yesterday. It is easier, not only possible, but it can be easily achieved.
Okay.
And the truth is that when we go to the roles and responsibility, you will know that we already have it within the tip of our hand.
Okay.
It's only that we need sensitization to recognize it and implement it. You get it now. It's very simple. It's achievable. It's even right here with us.
Okay.
But most of the time, it is issue of awareness and sensitization. That's what NOAA is doing now.
Okay.
To sensitize the people. So maybe when people get to know what it is, then they will know that my community can achieve this on this month.
So we'll go beyond the paper level.
We'll go beyond.
Okay, let's take another one from Rosemary Abihad. It says, children should be the treasure of every parent, and they have a duty to love and protect them and ensure that the house, the environment, and the community are safe so that as to be responsible people and thereby, replicating it in the future. Okay, it's a responsibility of the parents. Okay, now let me ask another question. We have a lot to talk about today. Like someone had asked, I wanted to ask that question that do we really have healthy communities like that? But you have talked about it. We are taking it beyond the paper level, right? From this sensitization, I hope so many people are listening so that we can all take it into our communities and start doing something about it. I was imagining, what if children can be part of policy formulation? What if they have to have a say?
It shouldn't be a conditional or optional issue. It is compulsory.
Okay, but they should have a say.
They should have a say.
Like that before.
So
we're advocating that children have a say, even in the policies of government, community.
Even it's already there in our policy.
Okay.
It's only that we are not implementing it.
Okay.
You cannot. There's an adage in my place that you cannot shave a man's head behind him.
Okay.
You understand? So you cannot make policy for children without recognizing or listening to their own voice.
Okay. Their voices need
Their
to be
voices
heard.
are needed,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
need to speak up.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
those are the things that policymakers should recognize and
Okay.
acknowledge.
Okay, okay. So in terms of policy formulation now, what type of policies are we looking at to create these healthy and friendly communities for our children? What kind of policies are we looking at?
Okay, we should be looking at social policy
Okay.
in let me say integrated or integrating social policy into our existing policies.
Okay.
For example, health.
Okay. Okay.
Health want to build health facilities. Are they looking at the social aspect of it that will recognize the right of a child? For example, okay, fine, we're putting this facility in place. When a child comes there, we need a place of convenience.
Okay.
So the policy might say, okay, no health facility will be built without water and a latrine facility. Then we're looking at children now who are not working. Now, part of the policy should also be looking at free health.
Okay.
For maybe those age category.
Okay. Okay.
You understand? But when you go to education, education too is making their own policy. Okay, we want to build school. No approval will be given to any school without water, without latrine.
Okay.
All education at basic level should be free.
Free. Okay.
So at this level, you are relieving those things that the parent cannot pay for. Maybe we should address the issue of roles and responsibility first, so that people will appreciate the importance of this policy and why the social aspect need to be included.
Okay.
Yeah, you are looking at private sector. Private sector too, which we have not fully harnessed in this part of the world, have their own social responsibilities, things that they can contribute.
Okay.
So at their level too, they should be able to support these policies in one way or the other.
Okay.
Like availability of or creation of social welfare.
Okay.
Some of them give scholarship for these children.
Okay.
Some of them gave some other things to encourage them. Okay. These are part of the social welfare that we need to recognize. Being that it may, government needs to be particular, just the way it is in developed country, about what can we do to make sure that a parent will not have excuse to send a child to health center, to send them to school, for the pregnant woman to attend antenatal, for parent to use center treated net, for women not to practice, parent not to practice genital mutilation again. So those policies will look at those aspects of development.
Yeah, I just want to take you back on something. You talked about that we're talking about the policy, what kind of policies we're looking at. You mentioned about the school in the aspect, okay, let's say the hospital, where we know that something that came to my mind was that in a hospital setting, to build a hospital, shouldn't the child be given a special place rather than build, for example, in our communities, you have maybe the wards, children be brought together with adults, or they should be built, a special place should be kept for them with maybe toys and all that, to keep them separate from the adults. I don't know.
Yes, it's
sorry, before you go on, unless you talked about the hospital, you talked about the school. What about in our transportation system?
Okay, let me start from the rear.
Okay.
The issue of having a designated ward or place it's already in place.
Okay.
It's already in place. Sometimes maybe some people that suppose at that level that are supposed to implementing it are not. If you go to most of the health facility, you see children ward.
Okay.
Then we can make it a point of policy that it has to be.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
Yeah, this issue we're talking about is all inclusive. Nobody will be left behind. The transport sector, the transportation sector is also a key stakeholder in this.
Okay.
You are getting me? We need to recognize their role.
Yeah.
We need to recognize their role and bring them in.
Okay.
Because we cannot plan for them. They need to be part of it, and the policy should recognize that.
Okay.
You get to the point we're talking about now. I actually want us to look at the role of government in all this.
In all this, okay.
Let's look at the role of government. Let's look at the role of community.
Okay.
Let's look at the role of parents, households,
okay.
And let's look at the role of individual.
Okay. Before we go, that will be the last part of it. Let me just quickly take some comments that are coming in. I have from Eleite Lohari. He says, Eleite Lohari says, the child right is human rights. We should all support, participate, and initiate activities that encourages and reinforces the implementation and domestication of these laws and policies. He said, what are issues on ground to help the child cope with the ravaging effect of the pandemic? Can you quickly comment on that?
Okay, yeah. For the pandemic, we are doing everything within our reach.
Okay.
Even in Rivers State here, I know the risk communication and community engagement that also coordinating. Yeah, we have gone far. Now we have identified the children in school. We've created risk communication club in schools.
Yes, you mentioned it the last time.
The risk communication club in school is a club based in school, and they are looking at these issues of school-related risk.
Okay.
You understand? That we recognize the right of a child, as the case may be.
Okay.
So we're working on that.
Okay, I have from Theodore Echo. He said most communities are not interested whether children are in school as they should be. It saddened my heart yesterday as I embarked on my school program, but found no senior students in school after they had gone on break. I was told a greater percentage of them will not return to school, but will remain in the community. Community leaders should put on their toes to curb this. You know, I think this is an NOA staff, and she's saying that when she went for her school program, she observed that most of the senior students are not in school, and she inquired and she was told that they won't even come back to school, but they are in the community. The leaders are aware that these are what the children do, and they allow their children to go back. So we're going to be talking about the role. Let me just quickly take a lot of these comments so we can get back and then talk about the role of each of these stakeholders. Rosemary, we have from Ife Amucha. They say, what efforts are government making in ensuring that child abusers are brought to book? We're going to talk about that. Please just try to remember these questions. Okay. Then Mr. B saying, time past, anybody in the community can correct a child. That is no longer obtainable. Blessing says, Blessing Jumbo, she says, there are parents that do not give birth in government hospitals. How do we get their data, especially at the rural areas? Senibos says, how does divorce or breakup affect child-friendly society? From Mr. Ayo Tamuno, very illuminating discourse. Clearly how well a society upholds the right of a child could be measured by efforts it has put in place to build child-friendly communities. I'll take that again. It says very illuminating discourse. Clearly, how well a society upholds the rights of the child could be measured by efforts it has put in place to build child-friendly communities. It is a continuum that requires deliberate and concerted efforts of all community stakeholders. Ifeoma Obele says, how do we get those children hawking during school hours out of the road, or whose responsibility it is? That's also the right of a child. Then let me take two more. I have from Cynthia Mba. It says, when you go to most schools, you find out that they lack teachers and children in such schools, and they end up playing within the school premises environment. What is the fate of these children? I also have from Ifichu Amucha. She says, women's rights are children's rights. It is important to ensure the enforcement of women's rights so that the child could be saved from societal abuse.
Yeah, thank you. You see, like I was saying earlier, when we know our rights, whose responsibility it is, then it answers most of these questions.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
Let's start from government.
Okay.
It is the responsibility of government to put school in place.
Okay.
That is the role of Ministry of Education, SUBEB, and the likes, and other stakeholders. So if government is making their policy, they want to look at these core rural communities.
Okay.
Even if a community cannot have a school, then what is the proximity of that community to the next available school?
Okay.
So they use that one to know where to put the next one, so that community will not overhave while some will be lacking.
Okay.
That is one. The responsibility of putting health facility at a very close proximity to this community is also responsibility of government. Government will also ensure that they put and wash facility in those schools, water, sanitation. Okay. For a child that is menstruating, we not see that as an excuse from not going to school. Now, if your community already have a school, if your community already have a center, if your community already have water facility that is not stream, then that means government has fulfilled their own aspect in your community. Okay. The remaining one now goes to community and the households. Okay. Community and households constitute almost 70% of this responsibility. Okay. For example, government responsibility to make education free and health services free. Now, basic education is free. Is that not true? Yes. Basic education is free. So, what excuse will a parent have from not sending the child to school? Okay. During school hours, you see a lot of children walking the streets. It is the responsibility of the community to do a community profiling. We want to know how many houses do we have in our community. In each of these houses, how many children? They must have those profiles. Out of these children, how many of them are out of school? Okay, maybe out of 100, maybe 20 out of school. They will now have a mandate to ensure that those 20 goes back to school by inviting their parents. Okay. Sit down with them, let them know the bottleneck. Okay. Then address it. If you look at most of these issues we're talking about, it is this responsibility at home. Okay. After government, we're talking about community. Community should ensure that, if there is any social welfare with government, they want to make it available to their community. They want to sensitize them. Okay. See, there's a scholarship going on now for the age of so. Our people are eligible. Please go and apply. Okay. This is how to apply. They will fight for their community. Then if you have that kind of profile, if you are saying government is not answering you, maybe because you are talking without figure. If you are going to government to solicit for anything, you go without that your profile. It become an advocacy tool for you. Okay. You know, your government, see, this is what we have. Okay. This is what we are lacking. Okay. We have done our part. We have all these things in place. We want you to do this. So the community must recognize that. If you see a child roaming around doing school, you should call the child. Yeah. Okay. And the leaders of the community. The leaders of the community should call the child to know why. Then from there, link to the parents. Okay. When they know that it's no longer business as usual, they will do the needful. Yeah. Okay. Then a pregnant woman is expected to be registered in antenatal. Okay. It is also the responsibility of the husband and the wife, now the community, to do that. Government has already provided the facility. So it's now your own responsibility to make yourself available for it. Okay. The same thing goes for all other ones that we've been talking about. So if we understand that this is my role and I'm doing it, you understand this is your role, you are doing it, then we are building towards a child-friendly community. So that's why I said, if your community has school, health center, you are almost there. Okay. Just to build on it. Yeah, to build on it. Okay. Did we talk about the role of the parents? Like I was saying earlier, the parents, I always give them like 40 to 50% of this role. Yes. Parent and teacher, let me put it that way, because these are the people that are directly responsible for the children. Okay. So the parents must know that a child is not supposed to feed them, but they are to feed the child. Okay. So that child must be in school during school hours. Instead of going to home, to feed the family. Okay. Assist you, it should be after school hours. Okay. A child is not supposed to labor. A child does not supposed to know how the food comes. If the child is not supposed to know how the school fees is paid, it's not the child's responsibility.
Okay.
You should provide those things.
Okay.
So as a parent, you need to work out together. Then you need to know what government is doing to support and apply for your child.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So it is the responsibility of a parent to make those things available.
Available, yeah.
And to liaise directly with the community to know the new social policy or social welfare that is on board that they too can benefit from.
Okay. Okay, so one last word to our people. I know our time is up. To our leaders, you know, you have just talked about the different roles of the stakeholders. One last advice to them.
Okay, yeah, I will.
Especially our community leaders.
Yes, I will employ them to please carry out their community profile to know how many children are there, how many of them are out of school. If they do this, they have a big tool to engage government. I will also advise government to ensure that they do the same. Let them put up policies that are child friendly and ensure that if possible in social time we want to make our state a child friendly state. Where all these things will be running sometimes, so that we won't even be talking at community level but at state level.
Okay, I know our time is up, but I wanted to talk about, just briefly talk about the role of the private sector.
Yeah, the private sector, for any society that want to develop, they must recognize the role of private sector. Public-private partnership is very key. Government should recognize these people and bring them on board. Most of they would go a long way to support government to put most of these facilities in place. You see some oil company have built school for some community. They have built something for some community. We are not asking them for money, but we are asking them to support the children as part of their social responsibility. They will be willing to do it. It's only when we are asking for money that they may frown at it. But these are services. Let's make it available.
Thank you, Mr. Mordecai Olowole. And thank you, viewers, for streaming live with us this Friday. Remember that you can catch up on our previous episodes by going to YouTube, search for NOA Rivers State, and don't forget to subscribe. Now, each and every one, hands need to be on deck to make our community and our cities child-friendly. You have heard about your own duty. So don't just listen and forget about it. All hands must be on deck. This is the program of the National Orientation Agency, Rivers State, supported by UNICEF.